How amazing is this place? This view is so perfect right now with the shadows falling across. So I'm gonna do a little, well, maybe a few sketches just to get warmed up because I just got here. And then hopefully I'll find a coffee and then I'm gonna go find a spot to paint. I may do a couple close-up views, maybe, I don't know, I'm just gonna change it up a bit. Also, there's a beautiful field of daffodils over there, so that might be a good subject as well. So let's just see what we get on with today. This is the kind of thing that Wolfie would slag me off for because there's this amazing castle, beautiful gardens, everything, and I'm tucked into the woods painting an old, gnarly, dying tree. But the shadows and the shapes and the swirls of the bark caught my eye and I can't look away. It's just so cool. I could happily paint decrepit old trees for the rest of my life, scribbling cool shapes and bark and twisted branches and all sorts of interesting patterns in my sketchbooks. Another one of my happy places. I don't think I mentioned it earlier in the video, but my plein air painting group was meeting here this day and we were all spread out painting different subjects. But one of the reasons we chose this location is because every April there are huge patches of beautiful daffodils. It screams spring, so it's a great place to paint. And I knew I couldn't leave without at least painting a few of them. Oh, this is amazing. Ooh, there's a little bench right here. I'm in a huge patch of gorse, which is so beautiful right now in the sunshine. I decided to come to this location because it's a very bright, kind of glaring, sunny day, and I want to practice that light effect on the water. So I am gonna just keep heading down this trail until I find a little spot where it's sort of more spread out and I can set up. On my past couple of videos, I saw messages about my sunglasses and like, isn't it difficult to see color with sunglasses? And the answer is yes, very much. But I get like light-induced migraines this time of year because it's like such a harsh transition into so much bright light. So if I don't wear my sunglasses and I'm looking at bright paper or staring at something in the distance for too long in the bright sun, I just can't even function. So it's the lesser of two evils. I have to wear the sunglasses and just kind of make adjustments about regarding color. And the more you do something, the more you get used to it. So you learn how to adjust to something like this. It's not ideal, but it works for me. I'm really liking this little idea where I just bungee my little water box on there. If I forget my bigger water container that usually hangs off the side of this, I have to use my portable painter side thing, but I don't like this to be like up here. So I just bungeed it and it actually was really, really stable. So I think I'll just do that from now on. With the remaining energy I had, I decided to paint some of the gorse because it is in full bloom right now. It's so beautiful, and I'm trying to get better at seeing color variation within yellow plants and yellow bushes and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's the perfect opportunity to do some color mixing. And of course, sitting by the sea with a little bit of breeze was the perfect way to end the painting session. All right, I'm in the forest going for a bike ride, and I found this lovely little stream next to the river, but I got really excited by this old fallen tree, and I think I'm gonna paint it, and then maybe come back on a different day to paint the stream. I know some of you are like, Sarah, what is wrong with you? Why are you painting dead trees all the time? I don't know. I love it. All right, I've got my microphone on because the cars are right there and they're really loud. This tree was calling to me, so, I'm gonna paint it. And I was just thinking as I was drawing it that it's not even about the subject matter in this case. It is literally about the light and the shapes. It's like an opportunity to play with those things, and I've just got to do it. One of the tricky things when it's really bright lighting is that my paper is bright white and it's reflecting the sky. So right now it's a very cool white, whereas my subject is a very warm light. In order to compensate for that, I'll either have my paper in the sun so that it's also that bright white light, or I will make sure my palette is in the sun so that I can see the colors as they look in the light and not worry about how the coolness of the shadows affects it. I hope that makes sense. So I'll start with the brightest light I see in front of me, which is that kind of pop of yellow on the moss. And regardless of how it looks on the paper right now, I know that it actually looks like this on my palette. And I'm kind of just thinking about the values at this point anyway and the big shapes. So I'll just block that in wherever I see that pop of yellow and white. One of the things that I find helpful when I want to play with shapes more than focused on like a really detailed painting of a certain subject is to use a bigger brush. I've talked about this in the past, but one thing I did a long time ago is I took one of the online classes on schoolism.com with Nathan Fowkes, and it kind of changed my whole way of seeing things. And one of the things that he recommends is to use it as big a brush as you can for whatever size paper you're using. So that it's like almost uncomfortable, because it really forces you to work on the bigger shapes rather than going straight into the details. And that is something that has stuck with me for years. So whenever I really want to layer in lots of big loose shapes, I will always grab a bigger brush. But even when I do that, I find myself wanting to like dive down into the details right away. So it's definitely a matter of discipline. And in this case, I had one specific goal, which was to capture the very, very bright light on the moss and kind of like around the edge of the tree because it was backlit. And in order to do that, I had to make sure the rest of it was dark enough, because I know from past experience that I often don't go dark enough. And in order to capture that really like glaring light, you need that contrast. So using a bigger brush to lay in those initial brights and darks really helped. And then I was able to switch down to my smaller detail brushes and just get fun little textures and grasses and bark shapes and stuff. I find myself really attracted to the various swirling bark shapes and textures that I see on these old trees and in the roots, and especially on a fallen tree that has been weathered a bit longer. And I'm often very tempted to just paint that. But in this case, I wanted to have a bit more context. So adding in some moss and grasses and close trees and a little bit of detail in the background, but not enough to distract from it. Speaking of which, for the background, I went a little experimental and I really laid in a lot of wet gouache to begin with. And then later I came back in with kind of slightly wet brushstrokes and layered into that paint, which, as you know, with gouache, if you layer gouache on top of itself while it's wet, it will reactivate what's below. And you can use that to your advantage to create blurry areas in a painting, or kind of use the colors that were underneath to blend with the upper layers and create subtle marks. I had to be careful not to go too bright in the distance. Even though I did see some like really bright leaves and grasses back there, I wanted this tree to be isolated in the shadows, because I felt like that would just really help me portray the bright light that I was going for. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, golden, golden things. Mountain laurel high fives for miles in spring. Rainbow trout and hummingbird wing. Golden, I'll follow only golden. I've made an absolute mess of my palette. I really need to clean this out and probably top up a couple colors. But I think I'm gonna call this one done. That was really fun. I just wanted to do a quickie today, keep it loose and fresh. Let's back up and see. trying to capture that dramatic, harsh, glaring light on the moss in comparison to everything around it. That's really fun. There's still a lot of light bouncing around in here too, so it was definitely a good challenge for that. Trying to capture a bit of that in there without making it too dark. But yeah, fun. All right, gonna pack up and head home, I guess. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot my painting. I set it down to dry and then I packed up. Almost. We are officially through 1 week of Plein April plus a day. Is this dry? And I still feel good. I still feel the momentum, the energy, the inspiration to keep going. And it's been really fun to use slightly bigger paper than just in my sketchbooks. I love having that room to play. So, like the big long paper that I bring very often. I may even try some 9 by 12 sheets of paper soon. We'll see. I guess it just depends on the location and the weather and how much time I have that day. So I'm just going to hold this in the sun for a second while I talk. So I hope you've been enjoying the weekly videos or twice a week videos. It's been really fun to see what everyone else is working on this Plein April. And I know quite a few people in my art community are doing it. Actually, I'll put a link in the description to my Discord chat if you don't have anywhere to share or want some inspiration. We hang out there a lot and we share what we're up to. It's really fun. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna head home now and I will see you again on Saturday. So take care, everyone.